Hey, Nicole, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
I thank you for coming back with me. I'm very excited because we discussed doing this quarterly, and although we are only in the second quarter, we're on track.
We are.
So I'm really excited about this topic. So we can jump right in because in January, you brought this up, AI as a topic, and I was really pumped. And what you said was, let me dip my toe in, right? So I feel like this came in hot. Other people that are a little bit more tech savvy might not feel that way, but I think probably most agents in our company and other companies that are listening to this will feel the same. It's like, what is ChatGPT? Like, how am I incorporating this? So I want to just introduce this by telling anyone that's listening that I too even am like a little like, what is it? How do I use it? Where do I dip my toe in? And we have some really good deep dives and just like we already have trainings going on. Ryan Glass in our company has been doing some trainings. He's doing something internally with Jeni on Monday. But what Jeni and I want to do is high level go over just what is AI, ChatGPT, how are we incorporating it into our everyday life, obviously into real estate, and obviously with Jeni as our chief marketing officer, how into real estate marketing. So we're not going to take a huge deep dive here. We're going to keep it high level. We're going to give a couple tips on ways that you could dip your toe in. And then we're going to follow up with some more tactical podcasts around just some of the things we touch on today. So can you start us off with just talking about what is it? What's ChatGPT?
Absolutely.
What's AI?
Well, so the first thing that I want to say is that this is new technology in the way that it is new to us to be able to access and to use, right? And at no point are you or I ever going to claim that we are experts at AI and all of the different tools that are out there because they are coming out fast and furious day after day, minute by minute, quite frankly. So I want to throw that disclaimer out there, Nicole, because somebody will listen to this 3 months from now and they're like, that's so old.
I
Everything has
know.
changed
I
since then.
know.
And I mention that because when I think about technology, right, it took 100 years to go from the Industrial Revolution to the light bulb, right? That's how long it took us to move that way when it comes to technology, but only 22 years to go from putting a man on the moon to the World Wide Web. And now technology is growing faster and faster. It doubles every 2 years. And it's based on the amount of, I don't know, gigs that they can put on a microchip, which doubles it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just coming faster. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to be clear that while this is new, we are learning just like everybody else. And so I'm glad that you're doing the deep dive because some people have focused on some things that really work for them in one aspect that they'll talk about. And I obviously am looking at it from a different perspective. So,
Yeah.
so in general, what is like a chat GPT? Well, AI stands for artificial intelligence, right? And you're already using it every day and you may not know it. So when you go to Netflix, and here's a great example. If you go to Netflix, Netflix is learning what you like to watch. But if you have an account and somebody else in your family or household has an account and you look at the same movie, it recommends the same movie to you. Let's just say Die Hard, just as an example, everybody knows that movie. For my husband, it will recommend Die Hard, but it will also show it with like an explosion in the background. For me, it gives me a close up of a very attractive Bruce Willis. And it is learning what pictures I am attracted to and I'm more likely to interact with. And so that is a part of AI that you're already seeing and using every single day. It's
Mm-hmm.
in your voice assistant on your phone or your watch. I won't say her name because she'll chime in as we go. But it's really everywhere that you are. It's in your daily life right now. So there's no reason to be afraid of it, right? So
Right.
AI, that's really what it is. When
My
we get
Netflix is like
into,
Blippy, Bluey, Miss Rachel. Those are
yes,
all,
I don't have any of those.
that's what I find attractive, apparently.
I don't have any of those. But I think, when you look at ChatGPT, the ChatGPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer.
Wow.
Those are big words that means nothing to you or I. But the generative part is what you want to focus on. And when you think of it, you should think of it as a thought partner, somebody that you would bounce ideas off of, or you would ask questions of to get answers. So when we talk about it in marketing and in Ryan Glass's presentation, which we are recording, that will be available to our agents, he mentioned it like treat ChatGPT as if you were sitting down with somebody from the marketing team and you wanted to roll out a campaign. what would be the questions that they would ask you, and just go back and forth. Um, so AI is really just kind of that artificial intelligence, and the chat GPT is an opportunity for you to use it as a thought partner to ask questions and to help you build things from my perspective, like marketing plans or organize your notes, and a few other things.
That's awesome. No, and I'm glad that you highlighted it that way. I was laughing at the beginning when you said well, things are moving so quickly. I do agree with you. I always joke that I'm on like the younger end of the millennials. And I do believe that that's the first generation that I don't know if I'm the younger end. No, I'm in the middle, but I'm not on the older end. And I have sisters who are about a decade older than me, and they're on that older end. So I was born in 1990. They were born in 1980. The difference in just everything between those two. So there's always these battles, including my sister-in-law, that we've all been in we're millennials. And then they're like, no, we're not, because they actually identify more with Gen X. And, I'm kind of like the prime time. But then even to the next 10 years, right? Because I think it goes about 20 years, give or take, whoever you ask, those kids. So I was the last kid with like no cell phone, right? Our cell phones were high school. And the kids right below me that are still in my generation, they were born with phones in their hands. So to your point, it almost has changed generations, like how they should even be looked at, because people don't even identify with each other beyond a 5-year period, because your life is so different with the technology that is coming out. And I think it's so important to realize that. So it's like, you're not the only one overwhelmed. It is an interesting, just way to like, it's a perspective to look at it. Things are moving really quickly, so much so that the people born within the same decade of each other have very different skill sets in what they do. And when you said, it's moving quickly, like I was thinking about like waiting for a ferry. Like I feel like when social media came out, it started moving so quick and people are just like, you know what, I'll get the next one. Like, but you can't, like, you really do have to understand it. You can't just say like, I don't really want to figure out Instagram, I'll figure out TikTok. It's all related. And I think that that's an important piece of this too. And why I think if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm too old to listen to this, or you do need to understand what it is. You are going to have clients, right, that are going to understand, like you said, there's so many different ways to use it, but I just want to make sure that everyone that's tuned in that might be like, okay, this might be over my head. It's not over your head. And I just like that you did highlight that this is moving quickly, but we can make it simple, and it's already something that we've been interacting with for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And if you think about like AI is already in your real estate platforms as well. You're using it. A Zestimate is AI. That's exactly what that is. Your CRMs that are recommending people that you speak to, that is all AI. For those of us that use Real Scout, those responses that are being generated for you, that is AI that is working for you. So it's already part of your business. It's just a matter of figuring out how do you harness it and really learn some of the tips and tricks, because agents will learn it, and they will stand out, and they will do things like, very quickly whip up some really great presentations. They will save time on things. They will have marketing campaigns that are 3 layers deep that you don't even think about. And it's not because they've hired some amazing personal assistant. It's because they've learned how to use AI.
Yeah. So with that, talk me through some ways you've integrated just into everyday life, if we could start there, or that someone could integrate into everyday life just to dip their toe in.
Yeah, well, we were just talking in preparation for this particular call. I use the ChatGPT app on my phone, and you can speak to it. And so I just had a conversation with it, talking to it about what I wanted to highlight today in our conversation, and having it ask me some questions and help me through organizing my thoughts. And for me, it's easier to have a conversation with the ChatGPT than it is to write. It just feels more natural to have that conversation. And so that's one of the ways that I'm using it just in my everyday life. From a marketing perspective, I would love to share with you some of the tips and tricks that I've learned, because a lot of our agents are looking at it and going, well, I can use ChatGPT to write listing descriptions. Sure. But man, you can go 7 layers deeper in 15 minutes on that property description, right? So one of the things that I do want to highlight with ChatGPT in particular, and ChatGPT is not the only AI that's out there in this generative format where you're thinking of a thought companion. There are others out there like Bard and a few others. But there is a free version for ChatGPT. So if this is something new that you want to try out, you can do that. And then there's the paid version. The paid version is what I'm using, and it opens up the door to a variety of extensions that you can use. And the way that they're explaining it right now is that using the free version is like hiring a high school intern, right? They can take notes for you. They can answer questions for you. Know that nothing is in real time, even with all of the chat GPTs, nothing is in real time. So you always want to make sure that you're double checking whatever you're getting. You don't want to just copy and paste. But if you're using chat GPT-4, which is the paid for version, it's like having an assistant or an intern that is a PhD student. And so the level of information that you get back is just richer and deeper. And I compared it. I pulled in two properties, or one property, I should say, and I looked at it and I said, please write a description. And I gave it the exact same prompt on each of them. And the chat GPT-4 was just much more extensive. And it was a deeper experience.
And can you is it $20 a month around there?
Yeah, I think it's 22. I mean, it's reasonable. You don't have to sign a contract. Yeah, you don't have to.
Crazy.
I mean, for a cup of coffee and a sandwich, you know what I mean? Like, it's
right.
Can you hire an assistant for that? It's amazing.
Yeah. No.
So,
really.
yeah. So if you think about just starting with your listing description, right? So you're putting on the market 123 Main Street, and you talk to your chat GPT. You want to tell it who it is and what it's doing for you. So when I sit down with it, I may say to it, I'm the head of marketing for Gibson Sotheby's International Realty in Massachusetts. I give it all the background, and I tell it what I'm looking for. And I need you to write a property description for me. I would like you to focus on community, lifestyle, whatever it is that's important. Certainly the property description as far as square footage, home type, beds, baths, all that good stuff. And then I let it go. And once I'm happy with the description, and you can tweak it as you go, I will then say to it, this is wonderful. Now I would like you to create for me off of this description. Please recommend 4 different types of social media posts that could go along with this. And it will pull out 4 different topics. One may be on the type of house, one may be on location, one may be on lifestyle, whatever it is. And then I'll say, I like number 3. Based off of this third one, can you please recommend a different caption for LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram? And it will pull all of those for me. I can also ask it, based off of that property description, to write an e-blast for me. If I'm going to send this, and I'll explain to it, I want to send this out to the demographic that I think is most likely to purchase this house. Can you please write an email to market this property? And it will do that for me. I can then ask it to create subject lines that are likely to be clicked on, and open rates and high open rates. I can ask it to write a blog post for me, like all off of that just property description.
I love that.
It's just a matter of how would you market a property? How deep can you go? And really interacting with it. And what that is called is prompt engineering. The better you get at getting those prompts correct, it's like the old database thing, garbage in, garbage out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you put in is what you're going to get out of it. If you're extremely vague in your questions, you're going to get a very generic canned response. But if you start to dig in and ask it deeper and deeper questions, it will learn. That's the artificial intelligence. And then it will generate content for you. That's the generative chat GPT.
Yeah, no, I was just having a conversation before this about AI, and someone was saying just specific clients, and, he uses it mostly for presentations. And so he'll put in, say, a news article, right? And it'll give him the summary. He'll put in, a report, and it will spit him out a presentation. And, your clients best, right? But he was so specific. He walked me through the back end of his, if that's what you would call it, and just so specific. And like, I'm to the point, but I'm casual, but succinct. And he, because it's giving him a lot of presentation materials, and it's incredible. Like, the detail that he put in, it makes everything look like he said it, he wrote it, so it is, I do agree with you. If you really are going to use it, I think that's a big tip. So I want to underscore that you said that. Just take the time to make sure that it's buttoned up in terms of what you want to get out of it, because you need to do that part. It can't just magically come up with things for you. But I mean, your bio, there's a lot of things that you could run through, and things that those are the type of things I think that from a marketing standpoint, linger, right, on someone's list because everyone's so busy. So like your bio, beefing up a property description, maybe something's been sitting and you want to change that up or what have you, all those layers that you could do, those in like historically are things that sit and you move it to tomorrow, because it's just that 20 30 minutes you don't have. So that's awesome. I think that everybody could probably take something out of that, but I guess to just hone in, what's one thing out of the marketing piece that everybody could go do right now in terms of homework?
That's a great question. I think the one thing that they could do really, and this sounds silly because it's not just the marketing piece, is just create an account and play with it. Because trying to figure out that one thing is a little hard because everybody's going to come at it from a different perspective. But just getting into it and trying it and not being afraid of it. We did talk in January and I said, this is one of the things that I want to learn a little bit about more. So I've been taking classes on Coursera or reading articles or listening to podcasts and that sort of thing. And the idea that it really is that thought partnership and understanding that you can just ask it a question and then iterate as you go and it will update and change. And it works very similar to a thread in anything. And you can reply like you do in text messages. You can go up and choose a section above an answer, 3 answers ago and reply to that one and say, now that I have this information, I want you to change this. So honestly, my homework would be if you had one thing to do, it's just to create an account and start messing around with it. The early adopters, there's always a group of early adopters that when new technology comes out, it's the 15% that dig in and try absolutely anything. You have the people at the end of the spectrum who never try it and will never learn. And everybody else kind of falls in the middle, right? So that's kind of like the rest of the real estate population or just people in general. And you want to be ahead of the game because this is coming, right? It is changing the way that we do business and the way that we do our workflow. So understanding it now and being at the cusp of it, I think is really going to help people 6 months from now, 1 year from now.
And you just said workflow, which made me think like, the buyer presentations and the buyer process and all of that is, really important right now in particular. But all of that's always been really important. Excuse me. The seller process that, like you're saying, that's something that could really go into that too, is if you're proactive as you're doing your business and this could give you this outline that you need to then flip when someone says, what do you do for me? Well, here it is, and so I think it's actually a really big advantage for, not to stereotype, but I can, because I have the stereotypical personality, that little bit of like the sales personality. It's a little bit, disorganized at times. And we're always kind of like, we want to be front of house. We want to be out like having conversations. And then it's really hard to be also back of house and like getting things buttoned up. So this could be really, truly an opportunity. I also will say that people have trouble, as do I, with assistance and help, because it's really hard for you to like articulate to someone what you're saying, what you mean by that. This could be your moment, right? You put the time in, it's a computer, right? So you're not going to put all this time in and then, I don't know, they get a new job or they decide they don't want to be in this business anymore. That is a big opportunity as well. For me in particular, I feel like that's what was like, ding, ding, ding. Like I'm a young mom, I'm driving all over the place. I was just saying that before we started the call, like there's so many things that I could be using this for. And so I think I'm answering my own question, but that would be my tip, because I was thinking that when you were talking, is figure out what you think would be helpful for you and just try it. It doesn't have to be anything that's like going to impact your business. And one other idea I had was those, some of those reports, I'm always starring articles. I'm big on I like to read like policy articles and things like that, but I'm always doing 100 things. So I'm swiping read on Saturday morning or whatever, like I'm ever going to do that. You can feed articles in. That could get you comfortable. You feed long articles. I know that's like so terrible to say, because there I am again, like stereotypical millennial. Like if it's not 140 characters, I can't read it. But a long article in the New York Times that I just might not have time to read with 2 babies on Saturday morning, I could be putting 10 in on Monday morning and just get the highlights. So figure out what those moments are that you could need it. And we can sort of start to wrap up. I don't know what else you wanted to leave everyone with, but I did want to ask you, because I know that you transitioned you've been through so many iterations of real estate in different states and different types of companies. And I do know that you transitioned someone somewhere into social media because that didn't happen that long ago. And this feels similar. So I'm curious, do you
Nicole,
think it's similar?
I was in real estate when they launched Facebook to the general public. So yes.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Not when it came out of the college dorms and it became public. Yes, I've transitioned people into social media, and I it feels just like that. The feeling is, when Facebook first came out, and I can remember sitting there with the broker owner at the time, and they were like, "Well, what's this about? Why are you doing this?" And I'm like, "We really need a business page." Why do we need a business page? I'm like, because it is the new directory for where people are going to find you online. This is how they're going to research for it. You need to do this. And the brokerages that got ahead of the game and the agents who got ahead of the game and just messed around and tried it were all of a sudden had another layer to their marketing and to their bios and how you found them online. That happened immediately. And if you think about, you probably don't remember when it came out, but there were a lot of agents who were resistant to it, and it took them a little bit of time. But I think right now, I would say 90% of our agents, if not higher, all have Facebook or Instagram accounts. They all have a social media platform that they're using, one that's out there, and they've
That's
learned
working.
it, and it's working, and it's just been a part of it. So to me, it's your opportunity to, adapt and innovate and be one of the thought leaders in the industry. And it's really cool when you can talk to your clients. One of the things about Sotheby's International Realty is that we're built on innovation too, right? Like, we are an innovative firm and brand. And so when you can say to your clients, well, I'm using AI to, I don't know, you could have it create a voiceover for you, and you could create a greeting for your cell phone. You could have a British assistant answer your phone for you on your cell phone. Nicole Rideout's not at her desk right now. Please leave a message. That's cool. I think I've told you, every time we do a podcast, I take the podcast, I feed it through a YouTube reader, I ask it for the key points. It gives me all the key points, and then I drop it into ChatGPT and I have it write a blog for me. It takes 6 minutes. So
Right.
all of our agents that are sitting down doing Zoom meetings with other people and talking, if you record those and post them, you could then create blog posts out of it, or a social media campaign. It's all very, very easy. It's just a matter of kind of kicking around and see what works for you.
Yeah. And then the other time goes to other things too. I think that's a key to remember, because I tend to be that like Irish Catholic, like martyr. Sometimes, like, I want to make sure people know I'm working really hard. It's like, I don't remember the last time I wasn't doing, something. So being more efficient, maybe saying telling your client I use AI is not telling them that. It's telling them you're working smarter, not harder. It's telling them that you're going to have time to do other important things, potentially much more important things, right? To get them what they need, because you are smart. You are looking into what will make you most efficient, and you're not wasting too much time doing things that, you really don't need to be doing. So I want to make sure that we hone in on that, because I have heard so many people say like, oh, it's the lazy way out. It's not. It's a
But if I told you that I had a personal assistant that was a PhD level graduate, you would be impressed. You'd be like, that's really cool. What do they help you do?
Right.
They help me analyze data. They help me strategize. They help me organize my thoughts. They help me schedule my day. That's what AI does for you.
Mm-hmm. No, it's awesome. I'm really excited. And I was excited to do this with you. I've been excited for weeks. And even being me, I was like intimidated by the topic. I wasn't sure how we were going to approach it. I just didn't know what to bring up first. I feel like I was overcomplicating it. And so the last couple of weeks since we've talked about doing it, I've realized through you, because I keep checking in on what you're doing with it. And I admittedly haven't even started actually implementing it into anything I'm doing, but it's not overwhelming, and we can. And so what I'm excited about is this is just like dipping our toe in, high level, giving you a couple things to think about, ways that it might help you. I would love to hear from you, whoever's listening to this, on this topic. And I'm sure Jeni would too, especially anyone within our company. Just email and say like, I'm going to try this. I'm committing to it, right? Like I don't care if it's going to write your grocery list. Like, just tell us what you're thinking, because we are going to take a couple of deep dives into more tactical ways. I just teed up a good episode like 2 hours ago. I talked to a top agent out of Canada in the Sotheby's International Realty Network, just about how he uses it. And it's largely for him, it's largely time, just saving time. And I was fascinated because that speaks to me. And then Ryan, I know, has been doing great presentations around our company, and we'll be doing one virtually with you next week. And it sounds like really focused on, can you tell me what he's going to be talking through?
Yeah. So he's really talking about how he's using ChatGPT, one, to help him dive into his value proposition. And then he builds marketing campaigns off of that particular value proposition. So he's using it to help him create blog posts and articles and then social media campaigns. He even uses it to help him start with video scripts so he can be interviewed by the chat bot to go back and forth. So
cool.
He's using it in a lot of different ways, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah. And that's why I said email us if you're some way you're using it, because there's probably ways that we haven't even thought of. So Absolutely. It's great to share. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for getting on here with me today, Jeni.
No, this is great. Thank you. I'm excited. I can't wait to see when we look back at this a year from now and we go, that was all we were doing with it.
Oh my gosh. I know. I was thinking about that when you said the Facebook thing too, and food for thought is, I was doing the math when you said getting Facebook, and I had Facebook like in 9th grade, but then fast forward like 5 or 6 years, I was interning, in the company. And I think I was teaching people then. So they weren't even on it yet. And it was so painful. I remember having like a line at my desk, and I was just a college student, but it was like, you know how to do this? Because then, right, people probably started getting business from it. So it was like, teach me how to get the photos in. And it's just something to think about, because this is going to be exactly what this is. At first, it's going to be like, oh, I'm not touching that. That sounds crazy. And then it's going to be like, oh, you're not using it for this, because this is the way in which you're getting more business or serving your clients better. So stay tuned. Yeah. And we'll probably delete this in like 6 months so we don't sound like dinosaurs.
Well, think about how quickly we went from like the Razor phone to the iPhone.
Oh, yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.